there. I think it's a wonderful problem to have. The spotters will figure it out. You know generally where your car is, and obviously some of the teams do different colored numbers on the roof and that sort of thing to help differentiate them. But it's tough, but it looks beautiful, and that is a really good-looking 7 car.
I loved it when you came here and they would do the patriotic paint scheme. It made you proud to be an American and be a part of this weekend. And I think it's amazing the sponsors give in and do what they do for these guys.
Look at that 7 car already wiggling around off the exit of turn 4. You will see that all day long in practice and qualifying, especially in the race. This place is just, it loses grip so quickly. The tires go away quickly. You'll see predominantly that middle lane in 1 and 2 be the place you want to be, but 3 and 4, it's open season down there. Wherever you can make your car work, whether it's on that blue line or up next to the wall, you just got to find a place to make it work.
Yeah, and you see guys just search around a lot. Like they run the bottom one lap, the middle, the next, the top, just trying to figure out where their car is going to have grip. Ooh, you see really loose right there. Christian Eckes got on that seam. Parker, you mentioned some of the bumps down there. I don't know why the bumps aren't huge here, but they're fine, right? And it seems to really upset the balance of the car.
My term for them is high-frequency bumps.
I like that.
It's almost like a whoop section in motocross, if you think about it in that sense. And the reason is down there, a lot of the bumps are those sealers that you see, and they're constantly adding more sealer and different patches across the track, and those just make bumps for the car to go across. So we look at the 16 here getting all loose, and right there you see all those little lines and squigglies and everything. That's just patches they've put down that have, you know, a bit of a difference in size to the actual asphalt, and therefore it feels like bumps in the race car.
Yeah, initially I thought it was because he had that left side on the seam, but as soon as we went back to him, he was loose, not on the seam. So I think the balance of that car, they're just trying to keep it turning all day, and you see him getting on the paint right there. That paint has a lot of grip, and everyone's going to fight to get down there, but you have to be super disciplined on entry to get on it and then try to stay on it as far as you can around the corner.
There's been some resin applied as well to the upper groove. So how do you expect kind of over the course of today? It's not super hot here today, but the sun is out this morning. How is that going to change over the course of the day, Parker, do you think?
You know, it comes in after a couple laps. It's not quite as dramatic as some of that sticky PJ1 that we've had in years past. So it sort of just adds a little bit more grip at times. Some people have different theories as to where that grip is added, whether it's to the front of the car, the rear of the car, just overall. But it definitely adds just a little bit of ability to use that middle lane more than you probably would have if they didn't put that down. I don't think it's something that, it's not a good crutch for your car. Like the old sticky stuff, if that was on here, you'd just go to it, you found it, and you wanted to run it. It's not quite the case. It's just a little bit of help in those outside grooves to have some more grip.
Yeah, this racetrack, though, I like it because it's pretty wide, and when you get guys running all the way against the wall versus running the bottom, the time there, the distance is so much less around the bottom. If you can get on that line, you can be fast both ways. So it makes the drivers have a lot of options.
About 5 minutes into the opening round of practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Lots to do on a busy weekend here in the Queen City. It's a beautiful day to come out to the racetrack here in Charlotte.
Welcome back to the Xfinity Series practice on the CW here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm Carla Metz here at the CW stage in the infield, and I gotta say, we are in a prime location for fans to find us this week. You can come here, play games, win prizes, but of course the big thing is NASCAR Countdown Live is gonna emanate from here in the infield starting at 3:30 for a full hour. We're gonna get you ready for the race starting at 4:30. Guys, we know exactly just how much fun the fans have been when we've been on location. Jamie and Parker, I know you're a little jealous of my location right now, but you're gonna get to join me here coming up at 3:30.
Well, we're jealous because it's freezing where we are. We know the sun's out and you're nice and warm.
There is a lot of people here already, and that is a great spot down there where the activation is. So if you're not out here at the racetrack yet and watching us here, make sure you stop by later this afternoon. Lots of cool giveaways and stuff to do out there and check out as we see Austin Dillon on the racetrack in the third car for RCR. This is the same team effectively that ran the Casey Kane car at Rockingham a few weeks ago. Austin in the car and making his first Xfinity start since New Hampshire in July of 2023.
This is interesting. You know, last year Kyle Busch came and ran the 33 for RCR, and at that time there was a lot of things at RCR they were trying to work on and figure out. There was some engine stuff they were working on, and so it was a good opportunity to get someone like Kyle Busch in a car to evaluate that. We ended up moving to that, and this year they now run those engines that Kyle Busch ran and some of the designs that he had in that car in terms of the design of the suspension, that sort of thing. So in this case, though, for Austin, it's not really the case. I was told by this team, basically running the exact stuff the 21's running. Carbon copy, kind of evaluate, give him an opportunity to come in the Xfinity Series. I know he enjoys this place and driving his Xfinity cars here. It's a lot of fun, Jamie.
Well, and it's a great track for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously won the Coke 600. He won here twice back in 2015. He was so good on the mile-and-a-half tracks when he was full-time in the Xfinity Series. And as you watch him right there on the bottom right, the slide.
Yeah.
I always worried about the catching.
Well,
of
one
the
time
chest.
it did happen.
Yeah, scorpion.
Yeah,
right.
And
Yeah,
I was worried about like his neck. This is some of the stuff we'll see down the backstretch. It'll be just as crazy. But yeah, he was always so good on the mile and a half. Qualifying especially, my goodness. When he showed up to qualify in an Xfinity race on a mile and a half of Austin Dillon, you knew you were probably fighting for second.
That last slide wasn't quite as graceful as the first one.
No.
the slow-mo I think hurt it.
Yes.
But now we have AstroTurf.
Oh, that's right. Oh, he
there.
is. And he looked like he got out of the throttle there to try to correct that. Thought he was going to maybe try to dive to pit road, but gathered it back in. And since Austin swept those races in 2015, 12 different winners in the last 12 Xfinity Series races here. So lots of diversity amongst the guys that can get the job done here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and the one thing, that's going to be different this year for this race is it's going to start a little bit later.
Right.
When you see how slick it is, I mean, it's early in the morning, and how slick this track is, when we get to 1 o'clock and the sun beats on this racetrack, it's one of the more challenging.
Yep, I
agree.
think so.
We totally agree.
I think so. We saw it.
But because this race is going to start later in the day, there's going to be a little bit of shade down in turns 1 and 2. I would think you want to be a little bit on the free side right now, so it tightens up as the race goes on and the sun goes down.
So you know what's funny about that is Austin Hill, his team will tell you they cannot make the car loose enough. And I'll tell you from my time there in the last couple of years, he would be 1% to 2% looser on the metrics that we would use, and he'd still say it's tight. So when they told me they were copying the 21 setup identically, I was like, that'll be interesting to see.
And so that's an interesting point you bring up, because when we met with Austin a few weeks ago, he talked about that he doesn't take a big arc into the corner, right? He's like, I drive in very straight, and for that reason, you probably have to have the balance a little bit freer. Jesse Love, talked about taking these big wide entries into the corner. He's like, I just can't drive it as free as what Austin can.
Another moment on the racetrack a little bit ago from Chris Wright. Get a look at this out of turn. Wow, that is a big
that's a huge moment.
Oh my goodness. What a save.
That is
a couple times.
Yeah, I'm pitting. Yeah, we're
that wasn't
work on
one
it.
save. That was 2 or 3 in a row.
That was impressive.
That's
Well
not
done.
one round of wedge. That's going to take a little bit of an adjustment.
Speaking of loose, by the way.
Wow. So disaster avoided there for sure for Chris Wright. Man, we've seen, as we said, I've seen a couple of guys that have had some bobbles, but nothing quite that extreme. So tricky conditions out here early on as we're about halfway through this first group of practice. Group B car is getting ready to roll out here in just a little bit. As we see Jeremy Clements on the racetrack.
You know what's funny about all these cars being so loose? There's the same thing in trucks history. Every single one of us got out there and was like, whoa, I'm really loose. Kyle Busch got super sideways. There was a couple others that got super sideways at times, and everyone had to tighten up a ton. And the year prior, everyone was super tight. What had changed, Jamie? I have no idea.
Well, typically we blame that on tires.
Yes,
Parker. We
sometimes
say
they
that
change
something in the tires.
Yes. So something's different this weekend, but for a lot of teams, I think in trucks, and now we're seeing XFINITY, it's just tended to the looser side, and that can be tires, that can be the temperature difference here this weekend, how they lay that resin down. You just don't know, but that's part of the thing that we go through in racing is there's so many variables we're trying to work through, we're trying to understand, and even when you don't have the information, you have to react in real time to what the situation is at that time, and for a lot of these teams, that means tighten these race cars up.
Yeah, that 51 was the first car that I've seen that looked tight, actually. It looked like he was having a hard time keeping it on the bottom.
Brad Perez working his way through turns 1 and 2 right now. Scheduled to make his 3rd start of the year.
Yeah, first Xfinity Series start here at Charlotte for Brad.
Brad's a guy that just grinds, no matter what it takes to be in a race car or just be around the garage area. He's sideways too. They're hustling through 3 and 4. Yeah, he works hard to just get opportunities and takes advantage of them.
I love this guy.
Yeah,
he's awesome. He's so cool. You got to follow him on social media. It's very, very funny on his Instagram and such. But yeah, he works multiple jobs, driving experiences for BMW, and he's all over the country all the time. He's constantly hustling. He's a tire guy one week. He's in the driver's seat the next
Sometimes
week.
both in one
Sometimes
weekend.
both in the same weekend. This is his first start on the Charlotte Oval. That's not the way to do it, Brad. But when he shows up, what's amazing, oh man, he's sideways.
Every time he got the left front on the line, it would get out from underneath him.
It's interesting, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Parker. But you said that the line, the paint, has kind of produced some grit, but it seems like some guys are getting down there now, and it's getting the balance upset.
Yeah, well, you want to get when you see a really dominant car here. If I look at Justin Allgaier the last couple years, when he's been the absolute best car, that left front is painting that blue line because it has so much grip in that paint. But to get there, as Jamie said earlier, you have to be super disciplined, and the car has to react correctly to getting in that paint. Justin has a great feel for it. Others are going to try, and you're going to try that now because you know where you saw Josh Williams running right there, the middle to the outside. You can always get there. That's always available to you. But if you can make your car work down on that blue line, there's something special that can occur if you really can make it work down there.
I didn't like the line.
I'm terrible at it.
I loved
just
being
gotta
able to make
admit
the
that.
top work because it's easier to pass. When you can have the momentum around the top, it's so much easier to pass. When you're trying to run the bottom, they can pinch you down on entry, as we saw with Brad Perez, and you get down and then you get loose and you don't have any of the momentum. So I appreciate it. Mark Martin was one of those guys that would run the line. Allgaier does it every week, but I loved coming here because you could run up high and carry all that momentum.
I don't know how they did it either.
9 minutes remaining in the opening laps of practice for the NASCAR Xfinity Series here on CW. Back at Charlotte, underway with Xfinity Series practice. Look at Dean Thompson on the racetrack. The Eagle American flag patriotic scheme, one of many here. I like this one.
Screaming Eagle.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Bald Eagle on the
Screaming
side.
Eagle.
That's America right there. Gotta love it.
Dean working the middle groove over here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, it seems like most of the guys are trying to make the bottom work in 3 and 4. Like almost everyone is trying to get to that line and run around without getting too loose. I see Dean. I tell you what, that's a nice entry. If you can make a big late and not get to the apex until way around there, that's good. But it does look like everybody's kind of wanting to run the middle and the top and through turns 1 and 2.
And it's so hard to do what you just described, which is that late entry into 3. It's so enticing at this place to try and drive it further down into there, but you'll get so far that you can't get to the bottom. Then you'll get stuck in all the bumps and you just totally kill the corner. And then if you enter too low, there's a ginormous bump that feels like a
ginormous.
Yeah, it's like a jump.
That's a
in
big
a lot
one.
of sense.
Yeah,
I know. Thank you for that.
That's a big word.
You want some vocab?
That's
help?
a good one. That's Connecticut language right there.
Oh, well,
I like it.
I almost used gibungus, but that's not a real word. But nonetheless, you hit that bump and it completely unsettles the car. So there's like a perfect path of being able to do this large arc, avoid that bottom bump, but get the car to turn. And when the car does it right, you feel amazing. When it doesn't, it feels like you'll never get to the bottom.
Where does this track on the 1.5 miles rank as far as difficulty of entering the corner? Because it's narrow. It's narrower than a lot of the 1.5 miles. So does that make it more challenging?
That's a great question. I think it's probably one of the most difficult entry-wise. And the reason being is in turn 1, the cars get super loose. The way it's designed, the way you fall in the corner, especially if you're trying to run the bottom, you'll constantly hear drivers talk about being loose on entry in 1. And then as we just talked about all the reasons that 3 is really difficult. I don't know if you feel that way, Jamie. But
And I think that's totally driver dependent. It's like asking somebody about a golf hole. You know, everyone finds a different one. I loved coming here. And this track is hard, but I always had success at this track, and whether it was on the bottom or the top. So I didn't find this as hard as I did like turn 1 at Texas or trying to run the top at Homestead. Like
really?
When I think about like 1.5 miles, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's the visual as you head down into the corner. If you know what you want to do and you can get your car to do that, it's not bad. But you know, there's some tracks like Miami's one for me. I never really knew what I needed on the entry of a corner, and I was never comfortable being able to run the wall there.
Catherine Legg on the racetrack, making her 4th of 7 scheduled starts this year for Jordan Anderson Racing.
she continues her tour of picking probably some of the hardest tracks in all of NASCAR.
Wow.
I've been told her schedule a couple times, and every time, like, who picked these races?
Well, if you're going to learn, maybe that's the way to do it, right?
You know, I commend her for her determination of showing up to these places. They're incredibly tough, and, you know, consistently learning and getting better here and there in different facets of what it takes to be successful in the NASCAR Xfinity Series car. But these are some really tough tracks that she's picked, and I guess, yeah, if you're going to learn, go straight to the deep end.
And she did race at Texas, the most recent 1.5 miles, and of course most recent race on the schedule at the beginning of May. So 2 races in a row for Catherine in that 32 car.
Yeah, and she didn't run a super fast up to speed lap like we've seen some cars do, but quite honestly, at 20 laps, her time's not terrible right there. I mean, she's about a half second off of what some of these guys are running, but not terrible right here.
Guys, the thing to note too, the 2 cars that are fastest right now, Justin Allgaier and Sheldon Creed, fastest on the 5 and 10 lap run, as well as the 15 lap run. So they've both been on a long run, and they've both been fast over the course of the entire length of that run.
And when you get to the 15, the 7 is over a 10th faster than Sheldon Creed. So I think the magic of Justin Allgaier and that 7 car here probably will continue today. We'll see in Group B if that sort of holds up, but he just has a knack for this place. It's like you described, Jamie. It's just
it just lines up for him.
Lines
really
up
well.
for him in every respect. And I think it doesn't surprise me with his driving style. He's always been so good at being disciplined about getting his left front to a certain line and sort of being really good at being on the bottom of racetracks and making speed that way over a long run.
Ryan Ellis on the screen. Full-time driver again this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Coming off a 23rd place finish at Texas.
If you look at the position he's in right here in practice, he's going to know exactly what that feels like at the beginning of the race, because he's behind 4 or 5 cars, putting himself in some dirty air, trying to figure out what the balance will be. You see he tries to go to the bottom right there, Man, it's hard enough to stay on that line. He looks like he's got good mid-corner speed, though. Going to suck up on Brennan Poole here on exit. Got a little tight when he got in the wake.
Yeah, and the air really affects you here big time. If you have a car that doesn't get affected by it, you feel like a hero, because it just seems like with the lack of grip, when you get a car in front of you, that all that grip, the little bit of grip you have goes away. I was speaking to Ryan Ellis's team. He's still searching for that top 10. They said, man, he does a great job, but he's just so concerned with protecting the race car at times, and they've kind of had to go to him and be like, man,
it's okay.
It's okay. We'll fix him. You just go do what you got to do. Go get us up front. But he's just, he's someone that grinded to be here and works really hard as he comes up next to Brad Perez in a sliding fashion. But they're trying to encourage him to maybe take more risk.
That is hard, right? When you're a guy who you're used to maybe running in underfunded equipment, you are very cognizant of that. So that's great to hear that they've kind of let him off the reins, so to speak. Go after that first top 10. Blaine Perkins, getting a good look at him into turn number 1. Can't miss that car. It does stand out this weekend.
Crocodile.
Against the outside wall.
Crocodiles are the ones in the sea. They go to the salt water. Alligators are the freshwater ones.
It's a wildlife show now?
I'm just curious.
Oh, I think you are correct in that. Yes.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure.
I just know that the crocodiles have the narrower noses.
They have a narrower nose.
Yeah.
I would stay away from both.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They're both scary.
Yeah.
Perkins continues to circulate under a minute, and in fact, under 30 seconds here as the first group of practice winds down here at Charlotte. Allgaier and Creed certainly two of the cars that we expected to be fast, and they are indeed, as they pace not only single lap speeds, but as we just said, 5, 10, and 15 lap averages as well. Creed has run the most laps at 35 laps, and Allgaier is already out, so he's happy with his race car as the red and black flags displayed to conclude group number 1 of practice here for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Group 2 climbing aboard. 25 more minutes of practice ahead here on the CW.
.38 cars are queued up on pit road, ready to do battle here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Drivers, start your engine!
And we're ready to drop the green flag on the vet MGM 300. Clear.
Tries to pull the slider, guys. AJ wasn't putting up with it. Cole Custer to 0-0 up in the defense really hard. Austin Hill behind him. He's upset.
Now he bounces off the wall into Allgaier. Allgaier crashes. Justin Allgaier takes the checkered flag.
Never know what's going to happen here at Charlotte in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, one of the marquee venues on the schedule. And that guy, Justin Allgaier, pacing the field in group number 1. Talked about Sheldon Creed, Christian Eckes in third there. They've had a, frankly, bad last couple of weeks, so nice to see him have some speed here early.
Yeah, look at the mile-per-hour difference from Justin to Sheldon right there. That's almost 3/10 that he was quicker on his fast lap. The 7 car was really hooked up when he pulled out.
Austin Dillon rounds out the top 5, and you see the rest of the top 10 there from group number 1. Go downstairs and check back in with Carla on Austin Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Dillon. And the Xfinity Series coming back from a 2-week break. A lot of these guys were able to take a little reprieve from racing, like Austin Hill was able to take vacation with his family. But it was all with one goal in mind, to come back and be more focused than ever. Right before the break, they really tried a lot of different things with their setup, which is why Austin said we either ran 15th or we went on to win the race. But they were able to learn a lot about their team during that time. And they said that the talk around the shop this week is we just want to come back and be the team that everybody's still talking about, Dillon.
They certainly have been strong this year, and those 2-week breaks, or that 2-week break for them, valuable to certainly get things back on track. You see the K9 for Warriors program there on the quarter panel there behind the left rear. Great program that we're going to talk about a little bit in the race. We'll give you a teaser of that, but the program is basically through his sponsor, their global industrial company, and they pair dogs with veterans as they transition back into the world and into the workforce. And we're going to have some dogs and some veterans that they're paired with here this weekend. So a great cause, and anytime we can get some dogs on camera,
Yeah,
that's
they've been feeding that dog well.
He looks good, doesn't he? Yep.
Yeah, he's healthy.
Man's best friend.
Great program, and so many of those on race cars throughout this field today that we'll talk about over the course of the day, and that's just one of them there, the K9 for Warriors program on Austin Hill's car.
Well, I would want to be in this second group. You got track cleaned off. If you had a teammate in that first one, you maybe got an idea of a balanced shift you'd want to start with. I think if they watched any of our coverage, they saw a lot of cars sideways. So it'd be interesting to see if they can make some adjustments and adapt to the conditions they have today.
They were paying attention to what we had to say.
Definitely.
Of course. Yeah.
Sammy Smith is the first one up to speed here in group number 2. They're another team that's kind of looking for a little bit of a rebound here after the break. A couple finishes of 18th, including earlier this month at Texas. We had a couple top 10s before that, 4 straight top 10s actually. So just trying to get things back on the right track here. Finished third here last year.
You know what's crazy about these practices and the way we do this now is that this first lap at a track like this is going to most likely be your fastest lap. Right. You want the best example of what you're going to feel in qualifying. You're going to just go straight off the truck and as hard as you possibly can to try and feel what that car might be in the qualifying, and that's your best example of what you'll have from here on out. It's going to lose grip throughout this practice, and you're just going to go slower. As we look at Connor Zilic right on the bottom right there behind his teammate Sammy Smith. Great to see him back here in the Xfinity Series after a couple-week break and getting his back recovered.
Yeah, and he was in. I talked to him a couple of times this week. I was at a few appearances together with him, and he said, you know, I was in pain initially when that happened, but he's like, it's feeling much better now. As you see right here, it's turned down. It's going to hit that inside wall, and when you watch the wall deflect when this hit happens right here, it's a massive, massive impact. And he said, look, I knew immediately that something wasn't right. I felt a little bit of pain in my lower back. But he's done some interesting treatments, like you mentioned, a hyperbaric chamber, some different ways of being able to heal that. And he's actually poured not a different insert, but he's made a lumbar in his seat insert to try to help with just, I think more than anything, he's educating himself on what he needs, right? Like hasn't poured a lot of inserts over the years, and you get better at every one of those that you do.
And NASCAR actually, you know, every time something like this happens, they go into their research and development program and sort of want to find out why these things happen. They're starting to actually scan drivers and how they're sitting in their seat to find some commonalities between drivers, how they sit, what's the best way to sit, where do you want your spine sort of placed in that seat. And so whenever something like this happens, it actually sort of progresses the whole sport forward. We all get valuable information from something like that, and now a lot of teams and drivers are talking about, hey, how are you sitting in the seat? What's your shape of your insert? That sort of thing. So good for him to learn early on as well, and to have that adjustment, and hopefully, you know, feels better in the race car.
Yeah, it hasn't slowed him down.
Nope.
He jumped right back in. He's 7th quick on the board right now. The only one quicker in this practice than him has been Byron so far. So Connor's gotten up to speed quick.
And as you saw there on the graphic, he is running in the Coca-Cola 600, so double duty for Connor this weekend as he makes his 2nd career Cup start. We're going to look at Austin Hill working his way out of turns 3 and 4 right now.
When I think about someone that likes the bottom, Austin Hill would pop up for sure. He's really good, disciplined on his entries at getting to that line and able to modulate the throttle and stay right on it. Look at how committed. And as you watch, you want to stay on it just a little bit further around the corner right there than what he did.
Reminds me of a famous RCR driver that we had a term for this for a while.
Harvicking.
Yeah. Kevin Harvick. That's exactly what his style is. Austin Hill here in terms of the way he wraps the bottom and gets that car down the bottom, and just sort of super disciplined about doing that. If you think about him winning Homestead last year at a place where we all say, you got to run the wall, you got to be on the wall. He was committed to the bottom in that race, drove to the field doing that.
3 wins for the 21 this year. Atlanta on the 1.5 mile super speedway racetrack to keep things off back in February. And of course, this dramatic finish at Martinsville, went into turn 3 in 5th or 6th and somehow got through all of that mess and came out on top and took home the grandfather clock at Martinsville. And then at Talladega in this, we'll call it a photo finish as the yellow comes out between he, Jeff Burton, and Jesse Love. They're racing down the back straightaway, and Austin finally got that Talladega win that has eluded him for so long. So comes here to Charlotte this weekend and looks for his first win at this racetrack.
I'll go with you on the photo finish because they needed a photo.
That's right. Well,
to find out who was winning, right? It wasn't at the line, but they needed a photo to figure it out.
Exactly.
This will be somebody that we're going to talk about a lot today. William Byron in the 17 car. We've seen Larson, Corey Day, a few different guys in this. Byron actually ran 2nd at COTA in this car earlier this year. Ooh, that thing is loose trying to get down to the bottom. But every week this car is super quick. And gosh, the balance of all these cars just look like they're fighting for rear grip.
I did think Austin Hill's car, of all the ones we've seen, looked the most stable.
I thought so too, yeah.
I thought it looked really, really solid there. But everybody else, to your point, is kind of searching around to try and find a little bit of stability as we get a look at what you were just talking about there.
Yeah, well, he was loose on exit, and then when he got down to turns 3 and 4, he was super loose on entry as well, just wiggling all the way down into the corner. And it's impossible to stay on that line when you're that loose. You have to kind of counter steer and move up the racetrack just a little bit. But I find it so interesting, as loose as that car looks, that he's still out there running. So it must not feel quite as bad, or he's just trying to get the best read he can here on this initial outing.
Just got to adjust your throttle application. That's
less.
all. Yeah, less at that point in the corner. Yeah. You'll be fine.
It always looks worse, too, than it feels in the car,
right.
Doesn't it? Time running down here, about 7 minutes into group number 2 for practice here at Charlotte. Back at Charlotte, Group 2 practice underway. Getting a look at Nick Sanchez in the Borchetta Bourbon colors again this weekend. Good-looking race car, but we've been on board with him, and it doesn't necessarily it doesn't look like it's driving quite that well.
I was just thinking that, Parker, as we rode on board with Nick. We're in 1 and 2 right now. We'll see. He's chose to kind of move to the top. He was trying to run the bottom of 3 and 4, and that thing was bouncing up and down and shot up the racetrack on him. Let's see where he chooses to run here.
Oh, you can hear the bumps.
So rough.
Yeah, and that's just that's as low as you can enter without
Nice job there, though.
getting on that bump that's just below that. We heard it earlier when you ran on board. It sounded like the car hit the racetrack really hard.
Yeah, and you heard the spotter say that was a good 3 and 4 because earlier he turned in a little early and really washed up off the bottom. And at this point in practice, the tires are worn. You're just trying to figure out what's my balance on the top versus what's my balance, on the bottom, and then you're going to try to balance that out with your adjustments here before the race.
Sanchez down in 13th, and the numbers on the ticker there at the bottom that are highlighted in orange are the cars that are on track here in group number 2. So the Byron is fastest of the cars in this group. Nick Sanchez does have success here at Charlotte. Won the Truck Series race here a year ago.
Held off Corey Heim to do it. I had to watch his back to get ready for my truck race the other night. And, kind of got in that position through some pitch strategy and such, but when it came down to the last 10 laps to hold off Corey Heim, who we know absolutely dominated last night. I rode behind him for about 10 laps after green flag stops, and I thought he was in an F1 car, I'll be honest. But, that was a very impressive win, big for Nick, and it just gives you great confidence when you come back to a place you've been successful at.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's got to feel like showing up here after the speed they had at Texas. Was so close to having a really solid finish there, was in contention for the win, obviously got in the wall late, but that's just the thing that builds confidence and just you find speed because of that.
How about this guy? You talk about what people do on their off weekends. Daniel Dye, I'm scrolling through my social media and I see that he wins at Bowman Gray Stadium.
That's right.
In a limited late model. I'm like, that is awesome that is where he went on his off weekend. And they actually inverted the field, so he won the first one, and I think he had to start maybe the back of the next race. And you ever been there?
I have, yes.
Oh my
yes,
gosh,
the
that
Madhouse
place is crazy. It's so much fun to watch those races and the interaction. I just think that's great that Daniel went and did that on his off weekend.
Car.
He's not married, I can tell you that.
Yeah, no.
If you're married, she's like, I'm not going to Bowman Gray on my off weekend.
New crew chief this weekend as well in the 10 car just for this weekend after Texas lug nut penalty for their normal crew chief Kevin Walters. So he is sitting out this weekend. Lenny Chandler on top of the box calling the shots this weekend.
We're seeing about a second to fall off in the first 10 laps, a second and a half those next 10 laps. So,
and when you go on board, Parker, I am amazed at the lack of throttle. For those fast laps, you're not wide open, but it's a ton of throttle. But as we ride on board with all these guys, it's crazy how much they're out of the gas trying to maintain and stay on the bottom.
Oh, this is such a cool shot. Look at this. This gives you a great sense of the speed.
Well, and do you see how you can't see around the corner? Like, this angle's a little weird, but if you look to the left, that window tint is tilted up because of the banking. When you go in the corner, it's really hard to see around the racetrack. That's a great perspective, right?
The thing is, we did get to the bottom. You end up in the center, hopping all over those bumps, and that's where you hear that break in the throttle. There's no sound. That's because he can't get back the throttle, and that is not a fast way to get around. Sure enough, that was 0.3 slower than the lap before.
Ooh, he had one of those moments where you drove in to get to the bottom, and you just hope that you didn't hit the wall on the exit. Where's it going to stop at? And they drive bad. Look at that.
It's good for us. It's good to watch.
It is. Chase Briscoe is making his only scheduled start for Joe Gibbs Racing this year in the 19 car. Lance Crackers on the hood of that race car. Here's some radio.
I'm sure if I ran every week, I wouldn't think I'm free. I'm just really free. Never get the right rear to get underneath me. I just go in. I'm just counter steering. And then that kind of carries all the way across the middle. My exit itself is pretty fine, I feel like. I feel comfortable on exit. I just need security on entry.
Well, Chase, everyone feels the same way. Yeah, it's the same for everybody. It looks pretty stable, though, Dylan, when you sit here and watch him go around. He's chosen to run kind of the middle. That's no man's land to me. I always wanted to either be on the bottom or on the top, but the 19 car actually looks quite stable. He wasn't able to run that fast lap initially.
Well, I was texting with him this morning, and he let it be known that he was the most nervous he's ever been for a race in his
Which is
life.
crazy that he's
well, I
like
mean,
that.
I get where he's coming from. One, the Cup car is so different than the Xfinity
Yeah.
car. We see this for Cup drivers who haven't driven Xfinity for a couple years, or trucks. Those Cup cars are on such a razor's edge. They don't slide around. They don't have the rear end movement that these cars have. And then you jump back in one of these with all the rear moving, and it just feels like you're crashing the entire time. And you have to get readjusted to that. And I think for him, knowing Joe Gibbs Racing is so successful in the Xfinity Series, everyone who hops in one, you think, hey, they got to go out there, they got to win. He's definitely putting that pressure on himself a little bit. And, you know, he's just got to figure it out at a place that's also really tough. You only get, you know, he's down in 29th on the leaderboard because you only get that first lap. That's your fastest lap. So now he's got to figure that out as the tires fall away.
Yeah, the one guy that's really struggled with that has been Kyle Larson. You know, and he just Xfinity car. It's been.
He's had
I'm
a
like,
few more
I don't know.
chances.
He might figure it out one day. I don't know.
Brandon Jones is working his way on the racetrack. He is down the leaderboard as well. Where is he at?
He
He's
ran
down at
second here,
27th.
though, last year. This is a pretty good track for him.
It is.
And they've had really good speed a lot this year. I mean, he's been in contention to be able to win more than one race. I know he won Darlington, which is an exceptional place to be able to win at. But it's been a great season for him coming back to Joe Gibbs Racing and what he's been able to put together.
Yeah, tough start to the year, but once they got through those first 3 or 4 weeks, they've probably been one of the better cars week in and week out every single week. Here's Sam Mayer as well. One of the Haas factory team cars, 41.
It's a brand new piece for them. Brand new car. Right. I was talking to his crew chief, Jason Trincheri, yesterday. He was guiding, massaging this thing as they went through the garage. He was very proud of it, but said this is a brand new race car for them. All the latest and greatest bits and pieces they can come up with at Haas factory. Right now, where do we find him on the board? 11th right now on the board, but looking decent in the long run pace right now.
Yeah, and the fact that he's working the top, I think, will help that long run pace. It's definitely the track is going to get wide, and I think the majority will run around the top just because that's a little easier than trying to manipulate that line and carry it all the way around the corner. But he's good at running the wall too. Like when you think
really
about
good.
somebody that can be committed, he knows how to enter high, stay against it all the way around the corner.
Last year, he was probably the best car outside the 7 in some respects. We look back at Texas here, all the issues we had with the grass. He gets away with this somehow. Everyone just sort of runs into each other as that grass shows up. When
That was good analysis, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
Well, it's about how that race went. You weren't on the broadcast that week, but trust me, they all just sort of ran into each other.
Taylor Gray, another one of the patriotic schemes on the racetrack. Somehow able to come back from all of that, finish second. Best career finish for him a couple weeks ago at Texas.
And that's another car, Dillon, has just had a lot of speed all year long. Jason Ratcliffe, obviously a great leader over there, but I think that Taylor's done a really nice job. I mean, he's not the headline guy for the wrong reason, right? I mean, he just pretty quiet, keeps to himself, but he does a great job on the racetrack and good speed every single weekend.
This is another guy who, as you said, has just been quiet this year, but they have sort of turned the corner the last 3 weeks as well. This rookie class that we've talked about, he's got the best average finish of those rookies over the last 3 weeks, highlighted by that second place finish at Texas. 8 minutes remaining here in the final group of practice at Charlotte. Back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, NASCAR Xfinity Series practice here on the CW. About 5 minutes remaining in this second and final group in the Xfinity Series for him. He's got some summer shootout starts on the infield track here.
A little bit
That's
different
not quite the
for
same.
sure.
That's not quite the
I'm
same.
sure that applies.
He is as high as anybody I've seen, though, like on entry all the way around the corner, really just trying to learn what he can before this practice is over. But he stayed committed to that top, so he must feel comfortable up there. And it takes laps, right, to build up the confidence of how deep you can drive in, where you can pick the throttle up, kind of feeling where those bumps are so you can anticipate them just a little bit.
He's run 30 laps, and I mean, his lap times are actually really good right here. So I think he's gotten far more comfortable with this race car on the long run, utilizing the outside.
See how much slower he runs right here, running the bottom of 3 and 4.
3 or 4 tenths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in one end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
There's Jesse Love in the 2-car. In one of 3 cars for RCR here this weekend with the addition of the 3 of Austin Dillon. 7th place finish for him at Texas last time out, and he's won here at Charlotte in the ARC Menard Series back in 2023.
Danny Stockman, his crew chief there. The famous Danny Stockman, one of the more fun and cool personalities probably in all of NASCAR.
Yeah. He is fun to be around. He's intense, too.
He is so intense.
As you get around him, they're just... Whew.
I love hanging out with him. I love speaking to him. He takes this stuff seriously. There's a reason he's won so many races, so many championships. When we talk about Austin Dillon being so good in qualifying these mile and a halves and being great these mile and a halves, that was led by that guy right there, Danny Stockman. He's an incredibly bright mind and just an awesome dude overall.
Yeah, and Jesse's been really good this year on all the mile and a halves. It doesn't matter which layout we've went to. The 2 cars had really good speed, and the one thing that they talked about is they felt like they've been this like 4th to 8th place car, and they just want to take that next step and be able to get to victory lane. But unfortunately for them, it's the JRM cars that are just so solid at the mile and a half tracks.
Here's his teammate Austin Hill
on the bottom.
That's right, as we expected. And we'll go back down to Carla.
Yeah, Dillon, we know how much the 21 has really spent the offseason working on how he communicates during practice to his team. He just told him he needs to be more secure on entry, especially when running the top. He said with rubber being laid down, it feels like all 4 tires are sliding right now at practice. We'll see if they can make those adjustments before qualifying.
Well, it's interesting because we thought it looked different. So
great update.
What do we know?
Yeah, great update, Carla, because that's something the team probably smiled when they heard, that he was actually too loose for once. Chad Haney, his crew chief, was telling me, he's like, man, we throw stuff at this that tells you, the computer tells you this thing should spin out. Austin will get in and go, that's not loose enough, boys. So they might have finally found it, at least on the top side on entry, which I find pretty typical. You didn't think it was very typical, but I did. And, that's not atypical of a race car that maybe is looser to run the bottom. If you go to the top side, it just finds it doesn't quite have the same right gripping end of the corner.
Chris Harrison Burton, this is another team that really the last couple of weeks has taken a positive step in the right direction. 3 straight top 10s, a 6th at Texas, the beginning of May. And we've talked a lot this year about some of the growing pains of a new driver and team pairing, and these guys have not been bad by any means, but definitely have kind of hit their stride here over the last few weeks and come into a good track for Harrison too.
I think they've done a tremendous job this year.
Excellent.
Where that team was last year, Harrison coming in, I mean, I think it's been one of the best surprises of the season. He runs that car to its limit. He doesn't try to overstep it and get himself in trouble. He's obviously been around for years now. But I think he's done a great job every single weekend. It seems like he puts himself in a good position, or the team, they put themselves in the right position to get the best finish for their car.
And they're 14 points above the cut line, which doesn't sound like a lot, but consider that they've had some races that have gone badly. They haven't had great standouts. They did amazing jobs of manipulating strategy to get stage points at times. I think they've done an excellent job. His cousin here, also in the playoffs on points right now. I think this is one of the biggest surprises of the year. Ahead of a calling cars, ahead of Joe Gibbs.
Last 3 races, they've scored the 2nd most points of anybody. They've been amazing.
Jeb and this Jordan Anderson racing team have really excelled in the first portion of the season. I think they're all super excited, super proud. We came within that inches of that photo finish at Talladega to be solidified in the playoffs. I know how bad they wanted that, but
I think Jeb still thinks he won as well.
I know he does. He does.
That other camera angle would have shown it, I think. Yeah.
He doesn't believe it.
Here's some Sammy Smith radio.
But I'm just like loose, like no rear grip. The rear's just shearing on entry, landing in, exit. Can't throw it in the corner, can't throttle up, or I'm gonna spin out.
Listen to his
Full out of breath.
Yeah, he's working really hard in there, a little bit tense. But I think when Sammy and these guys can go in and debrief, everyone, it seems like, is fighting the same thing. And you mentioned it last night in the trucks was the same way.
And that's one of the things where your crew chief has to kind of read even to how you're talking.
Be your counselor.
Well, a little bit, but also you hear his breath. Hey, we don't normally hear that.
Right.
What's going on? So you are really loose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would throw F-bombs when I was really loose.
That's it for practice. Justin Allgaier ends up as the fastest overall here at Charlotte. Qualifying up next.
After a 48-hour wait, it's time to go racing. Off we go from Charlotte. Junior Motorsports has not won this season.
He's got an 8-second lead on John Hunter right now.
2 laps remaining for Justin Allgaier. Can he nurse it 3 more miles? His first win at Charlotte is his first win of the year. Here's Allgaier getting it done. That's what I'm talking about!
That's how it looked and sounded a couple years ago. 2023 win for Justin Allgaier. Always fast here, and he is again today by a couple miles an hour. Fastest overall in practice over Sheldon Creed and Christian Eckes.
His lap actually was about 100 faster than the pole lap here last year by Ty Gibbs. So he was really fast off the truck in that first lap. Good to see Christian Eckes up there, Josh Williams, those calling cars, and Connor Zilic in 7th. Great to see his speed. Has gone nowhere with his couple-week break there.
That's the combined top 10, and Carla is downstairs with the fastest man in Charlotte right now.
That's right, Dylan. The booth was bragging on how fast you were at practice. Your car seems pretty good. What do you say?
Well, first, I got to say, today is my daughter's 4th birthday, so happy birthday, Willow. That's probably the most important part of the day. But, you know, having the advantage or disadvantage, I don't know which way it is, of having a bad week last week or last race and going out in that first group, definitely makes you seem a little more as fast as Xfinity Mobile than not. So our defense commissary Hellman Chevrolet is really fast. But we were on that green racetrack, and the track was a lot cooler than it was, kind of towards the end there. So I'm proud of the effort. Everybody at Junior Motorsports, when I look at the program that we have right now, and everybody at the Hendrick Engine Shop, everybody at Chevrolet, what we're trying to accomplish with this program, we're firing on all 8 cylinders. And this racetrack's been great for us. Getting the win that you saw in the montage there before, seeing the speed that all 4 of our Junior Motorsports Chevrolets have is really important. So, Memorial Day weekend, special weekend, beautiful looking race car. They always look better in victory lane though, and that's the goal for this afternoon, is just go out there, have a solid day. The track has moved around significantly versus what I thought it was going to, and it's only going to get hotter as the day goes on. So we're going to see a lot of slip sliding around. We're going to see a lot of guys running that fence, and I think mistakes are going to be aplenty.
And qualifying coming up pretty soon. Is there anything else that you need to see out of your car?
Well, that's the one hard part, right, is when you go to have practice that early and you're in that first group, it allows that second group to get a little more understanding of where the track is at right now. I think that hurts ourselves and maybe some of the other cars in that first group, but we go later in the first group. We're going to watch all the competitors in front of us, and you just have to go back to your notes. And, as a driver, qualifying is the most fun you can have, but it's also the most nerve-wracking because you can equally make as much of a mistake that will start you farther in the field than you want to start. So we'll see what happens. But Jim Pullman and this whole 17, they do such an amazing job, and I know I'm going to have the car to qualify well. I just got to go execute.
Awesome. We appreciate your time, and you're going to come hang out with me during NASCAR Countdown Live, so it's not the last time we'll see Justin, guys.
Busy guy for sure, and I think he hit on a good point there. Qualifying is always kind of about finding the edge and finding that line, right? But it seems today to be extra difficult to know just how hard you can attack.
Right, it really is. And these Xfinity Series cars here, qualifying at Charlotte is incredibly tough. It's a fine line between getting the right speed on entry of corner and getting down to the bottom, or running the middle 1 and 2, and then down in 3 and 4. We talked about all the complexities there, all the bumps, all the places you have to avoid and not run. That's really hard to do on a qualifying lap when you're trying to just carry as much speed as possible, Jamie, and roll that thing in there, but it just sometimes doesn't hook up.
Let's go back down to Carla. She's caught up with Connor Zilich.
That's right, Dylan, and it's really good to see Connor Zilich here right now. We haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, obviously with the break and missing the race at Texas. Back in your car for the first time. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's great to be back. I hated that I had to miss a race at Texas, but I'm back, and our Jarrett Transportation Chevrolet is as fast as Xfinity Mobile, so I'm excited for the race later today. It's been 3 weeks since I've been in a race car, so it took me a second putting my suit on today and getting ready, but yeah, I got right back into the swing of things and feel really good.
And what a weekend to come back. Not only are you going to race a little bit later today, but also your second Cup Series start, the Coca-Cola 600. You picked a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be a long weekend, but yeah, I'm really excited to come back with Red Bull and Trackhouse and test the longest race in NASCAR. So really exciting weekend for me, and a lot of opportunity ahead.
And you've got, since you're from Charlotte, you got a lot of family and friends here too. A big weekend for Connor Zilich coming up, Dylan.
Well, that team certainly was good at Texas in his absence, but great to have Connor back where he belongs, behind the wheel of that 88 car here in the Xfinity Series. Cars lining up for qualifying next to Charlotte. Well, it's a busy race weekend here in Charlotte. Trucks and ARC already in action last night. Today, coming up at the conclusion of our coverage, Cup cars on track for the first time this weekend with practice and qualifying on Prime at 1:30 Eastern. Our coverage for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at 4:30. That coverage starts at 3:30 with the pre-race show. And then on Sunday, the big one, the Coca-Cola 600, the longest race in NASCAR, 6 p.m. Eastern on Prime. Cars rolling now for qualifying. 40 cars for 38 spots. That means we're sending 2 guys to the house early. And Austin Dillon is the first one on the racetrack.
Big decision for Austin Dillon to make, being the first car out. I wouldn't want to be the first one. I want to see the line, maybe some of the faster guys that run.
Well, from what we saw in practice, and if you look at this place historically, down in 1 and 2, you want to be in that middle groove. Most likely, it's probably the safest groove to be in. Down in 3 and 4, though, that's up to you. Whatever you think works. Maybe the bottom, maybe the top, but definitely 1 and 2, I would go to the middle. We'll see what it does.
And that car looked pretty sketchy to me in turns 3 and 4.
He listened.
Drove in, looks like it pushed up just a little bit in the middle for Austin, but he's got a decision to make. As you said, I think you're probably going to try to get to the bottom right here.
Definitely.
Get on the line, see if you can wrap that around, get to the throttle. It's such a unique, system with Indian on those old tires. You see, got a little bit tight, wasn't able to get all the way to the line.
That's tough. That's exactly what we talk about, where you're not able to get down to the line of 31-1.
Yeah, he's going to be disappointed in that lap.
Yeah.
Allgaier was able to run a 30.46 in practice earlier in race trim. I think he's probably come close to backing that up. It's hard, though, to go out first. The tracks got rubber on it.
Here's Dawson Cram for Mike Harmon Racing. Attempting to make his 3rd start of the year, and he is out of shape.
Walking up the racetrack on
He is always exciting to watch on these qualifying laps.
He does.
No matter what car he is in, he always seems like he's in a car that has to make the field. They don't have a lot of points, and therefore he's just always putting it on the line. Chooses to go to the middle. Let's see if this works better for him.
I don't think he chose.
I don't know if he chose or got there.
It up.
Chose him, I think,
that's right.
on that lap.
Chose him.
31.78 is going to be the time for Dawson Cram as we check back in with Carla.
That's right, Dylan. I'm here with Chase Briscoe. It's your first oval in Xfinity since 2021, so it's been a while. I heard a rumor that you might be a little nervous, but you've had some laps under your belt now, so how do you feel?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing how out of control these things are compared to what I remember. So, yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. I knew that it was going to be different coming back after so many years, but yeah, a lot's changed too. Like the rules and things, how the cars drive are a little bit different. But yeah, it was very eye-opening as I went into turn 1 for the first time. So yeah, definitely got a lot to learn still. Hopefully we can put on a good show. Lance Crackers, this is their hometown. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully now that I'm back in the Xfinity Series, I can be as fast as Xfinity Mobile. And yeah, just try to get better. That's the big thing. Like right now, I just feel like I'm learning so much, lap in and lap out. So I got a lot to learn still.
All right, and you're wearing orange right now, which, guys, I feel like goes with the CW pretty well.
It does. Yeah, there you go.
Great color coordination.
Got our colors on there. Catherine Legg, you saw her on the racetrack, 31.70. Another one that had a handful.
Her car was tight enough. It looked like it was way up
big
the racetrack.
Moment down on 3 and 4 there. Went right up towards the wall. We've seen 3 cars go. We're now on our 4th, and not a single one has gotten to the bottom in 3 and 4.
This is Leland Honeyman on the racetrack for Koch Family Racing.
Catherine did end up running almost a second quicker than practice, so it probably didn't feel that bad from inside of the car. It's such a big transition when you go from old tires to taped up and putting stickers back on.
Leland was sideways too there, coming through 3 and 4, but jumps to 2nd with his lap, 31.66. So still a ways off the 3 of Austin Dillon, but everybody's been battling, just trying to get their race car to go where they want it to.
And I think on the pace of the racetrack, one thing we probably have to take notice that Justin talked about is we've had all these cars run. They've laid a lot of rubber down. This might not nearly have the same grip that we saw early on in practice when Justin was able to do that 30-40. We'll see as we get later in this qualifying session. And it actually will pick up speed as some of these cars will start to pick up some of that rubber that was laid down. That's why we see that in Cup and Xfinity. Why it gets faster later in a session is that these early cars literally pick that rubber up and make the track greener.
Chris Wright had maybe the save of the year so far in practice, if you were with us earlier. Has 3 truck starts here. This is his first Xfinity Series start. And he'll get the checkered flag on his lap. 31:75, the time for Chris Wright.
After the ride he had in practice.
Yeah,
that was great.
Happy to have it still all
Same
4
car
cars on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Josh Williams is next up for Colleague Racing. Finished 8th here a year ago.
He was fast.
Yeah,
in
4th in practice. Yeah, ran a 30.97. So this would be a good indicator of, you know, where the track is from when he went out earlier. That middle, obviously, a 1 and 2 is the preferred line. See what he decides to do in 3 and 4. You kind of get an idea what the top is on your outlap and what that's going to feel like. He turned in pretty early right there.
First one to get down there.
Oh, he didn't quite get to the line, though. We'll see how that's going to work out for him. He gets really tied off if you're not able to get on that line in the middle of the corner.
Still not a bad lap. 2nd for Williams, 31:55.
That's 6/10 off what he ran in practice, though. That's
wild.
That's frustrating, right?
It is frustrating.
Yeah. Just think you're going to be able to go out and at least maintain what you had.
Well, and we saw, as you guys talked about, track changed a lot, and Allgaier even referenced it, changed a lot from Group 1 to Group 2, and maybe changing further still here as Christian Eckes hits the racetrack. Back-to-back cars for Colleague Racing here.
You know, I thought the track, though, because of the truck race last night, would have already had plenty of rubber on it. So it wouldn't have been as big of a change if nobody had been on it. But it is interesting to see how much grip this has lost. Oh, he gets to that line.
He got there.
He can stay on it further around the corner.
Green on the tracker. That's how you want to do it.
Yeah,
there you go.
Great lap.
Eckes across the line, and he's fastest, 30.97. First car into the 32nd bracket here in qualifying. And everybody, most of the guys down in there in practice, or the top few guys were, but first car in qualifying to get into the 32nd bracket, Carla.
Yeah, Dillon, and of course Taylor Gray coming off his career best, second place finish at Texas. Go from 1.5 miles to another 1.5 miles. Did that help at all in the preparation for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so completely different places. So maybe a little bit, but honestly, just getting back in the swing of things with a 2-week break and getting back to it. So I feel like we're okay. I feel like my operation there at JR Super is okay. Not quite as fast as Xfinity Mobile, but I'm confident in my Jugos Racing guys that we're going to make it quite a bit better here and hopefully go qualify good.
So hopefully some more adjustments for the 54, Dillon.
Did you make up your own word a second ago?
Probably. Yeah, I think I did.
I like it. It's
well,
first and fastest. I like it.
We had Gimungus earlier.
I know.
So
I'm going to work on mine here in a
bring
little
your
bit.
dictionary next
Hopefully
week.
no young individuals are going into a vocab test coming up anytime soon.
Saw Garrett Smithley there on the racetrack, 31.95. He has another great veterans or military-themed program on his car with the Hired Heroes program. As Nick Lights gets his turn to qualify.
There's the bottom in 1 and 2. First one we've seen do that.
I don't think I would have done that.
I wouldn't have done that.
If I watched every car in front of me run the middle of 1 and 2, I think that's what I would have tried to do. Maybe he just wasn't comfortable running the middle.
He was down 6/10 off of turn 2. He's continuing to lose more speed to 3 and 4.
32.56 for Lights. That's 9th of the 9 cars that have qualified. Everybody chasing Christian Eckes right now, fastest early in qualifying.
12th different winner in the last 12 races here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Second win of 2015, Austin Dillon, a winner at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Checkered flag, Hamlin wins it at Charlotte.
Way to will it, bud, way to will it.
Career win number 5, Ryan Blaney does it at Charlotte. And Brad gonna win for the second time in 2018 here at Charlotte.
Tyler Reddick fended off all challengers. He led the most laps, and he's going to win.
Career win number 97 in the Xfinity Series.
He's going to shock them today. Here comes Ty Gibbs for the win at Charlotte. Josh Berry's going to win by 3/4 of a mile. Elliott looks like he's got this thing covered.
Good job, guys. Thanks. Appreciate you letting me drive. This is awesome.
Pretty good list of guys there that have won in the Xfinity Series at Charlotte. 12 different winners the last 12 races. Sheldon Creed trying to make it 13, and he's another one that's got his hands full here on this qualifying.
Using all the racetrack there on turn 2. He went to the bottom and exit on the top, and it's working for him to the top in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I was dying to see the tracker because I knew he was on the throttle. I just didn't know about the distance he gave up, and he's going to have a great run to the line here because of running the top.
Wow.
Tell you what, it's a good lap right there by Sheldon Creed.
Something for everybody else to take notice of. 30.85, the new marker set by Sheldon Creed.
That was an awesome lap. I loved watching that.
Fun to watch, yeah, it was.
All over this racetrack. Still making speed.
And if I'm a crew chief, I'm letting everybody know where he ran right there.
Yeah.
If I have a car getting ready to go out. Just
what do you tell them?
It is an option. We can run the top at 3 and 4. It is an option is what I would tell
Hey,
them.
down to 1 and 2. Make sure to
enter
use all
the bottom
three
and go.
groups.
Yeah, that's right.
To your guys' point, though, it is valuable for these cars later in qualifying because you've got Creed early. You've got Allgaier a little bit earlier than we're used to seeing him in the order, too. So those are 2 cars that certainly are going to be a pretty good litmus test for what you're going to have to do later.
Yeah, and I feel like Justin, who's going to go out 17th, is right at that window where it kind of shifts. You know, around the 20th place car, it seems like the track always picks up just a little bit.
J.J. Yaley on the speedway. Good lap for J.J., 5th. 31.62. Driving for Joey Gase this weekend.
Solid lap.
C.J. McLaughlin is next out. Seen Josh Balicki in this car a couple times this year.
So I'm really curious to see CJ's lap here. He texted me about a week ago. Said, hey, any tips for Charlotte? I said, all right, bud, here's some things I know. Here's some notes of mine.
CJ,
I hope it works for him. I have no idea.
He's a great guy, always so positive and just happy to be there. He's got to find a little bit more speed, though.
Yeah, his entry speed just looks super slow right there on
motor.
both ends. Yeah, like just whether that car's loose, he's just having to woe it up. You just could tell on both ends, like the entry speed looked way down.
And that's not going to be the lap he wanted. 33.13 for C.J. McLaughlin. Also should note, Carson Ware scheduled to qualify a couple cars ago. They are not going to make a run for an engine issue.
What I learned in the last 2 minutes is don't text Parker for tips at Charlotte.
I mean,
hey guys, it's nice knowing you all. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I know nothing about this sport.
You should have waited till that lap was over to decide if you want to share that information
He
or
should
not.
have texted you. You've won here.
That's right. That's right.
Jamie. Wrong guy in the booth.
I like CJ. I would do anything I could to help him. He's a great guy.
Here's Jeremy Clements, one of the veterans of this series for so many years.
Oh, I think he's
gonna
getting
try
tight on
line.
exit.
I don't know if he meant to do that quite like Creed maybe did.
Yeah,
I love it.
Not a bad lap he's got going right here, though. He's going to end up 4th quick at 31.24. It just looked to me like he didn't get pointed early enough, and when he got to the throttle, it just started walking up the racetrack.
That's awesome. It's qualifying here in an Xfinity car is just such an exploration of using all the racetrack and whatever you can do and just trying to get back to the throttle. We're going to see that as we go along with every car here. Just different ways to tackle this.
Well, and if you're not comfortable with your car or at the racetrack, when you have all these options, that makes it even harder.
Oh.
Like what you want to do is go somewhere where like you have to run the bottom at both ends, and you just work on making your car work at that in that area. But man, when you come somewhere like this, they're like, it's wherever you want to go because it's fast anywhere you need to be.
Few things sap speed as much as indecision. Oh,
Blaine Perkins.
Wow.
Good lap going right here, though.
Yeah,
for Blaine.
Only about 3/10 off of Creed's time. That's going to put him 4th. 31.22 for Blaine Perkins.
He was good in practice. I didn't realize he was 8th quick in practice. I didn't realize that.
Been good all day today. So legitimate speed there out of the 31. Austin Dillon, by the way, officially locked into the show later today. And Ryan Ellis Second DGM racing car we've seen here in the last minute or so.
Wiggle.
Steady through the middle, though, not too bad.
You see that wiggle, you'll have that here, especially when you run that resin. For whatever reason, you'll have the front end sort of grip and ungrip, grip and ungrip, and it forces the car to almost have that wiggle at times. It's really an awkward feeling. It's sort of only there because of that resin.
A little higher through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it just looked like he couldn't pick up the throttle quick enough. Like his entry speed looked pretty good, but then the exit's just a little bit off.
8th for Ellis at a 31.668.
Here we go.
We'll see what this guy's got. Justin Allgaier, fastest in practice. Winner here a couple years ago. Won both stages last year.
Look at him relaxing his hands going down the straightaway. Just getting prepared for the corners. No relax right here.
Oh, you can hear it bottom out a little bit too there. Oh, he got loose.
Can't get to the throttle. Actually, the tracker, though, doesn't look bad for as much off throttle time as Justin had right there. We'll see. Gets down to the bottom. Can he get to the line? He does. Look at the time he's gaining right there.
That's pretty.
Oh, is it going to stick?
Didn't get it. Second for Allgaier.
Yeah, Creed running the top. He just carry all of that momentum off forward to the start-finish line.
And a couple of things that happened there is just he couldn't quite get it to the line as quick as he wanted to, and then had to hesitate with the throttle on exit. That killed the speed.
Let's go back down to Carla.
Yeah, Dillon here with Jed Burton. He's had 3 top 10s in the last 5 races here at Charlotte. You said it felt pretty good, but some other drivers complaining it's pretty slippery. What was your assessment?
It was slippery. It was loose, but my guys are doing really good job. Got a special paint scheme this weekend. Got a fallen comrade on the car. And I know his family's watching, and we got some of his fellow military soldiers here to support him. And this weekend's about everybody that gave the ultimate sacrifice. But appreciate Dive Bomb Industries and Timber Creek for coming on board. Really proud of this group. They're doing a really good job, and hopefully our car right here will be as fast as Xfinity Mobile, and we can go get a good top 5 start. We qualified 5th and 10th here the last 2 races, so it can get a little bit better.
Thanks, Dillon.
Thanks, Carla. Saw Brad Perez make his run there. Ended up 15th in the 45 car, and here's Dean Thompson in the Screaming Eagles car, as Parker referred to it earlier.
Let's see if they're screaming right here.
Yeah, he chose to run the bottom of 1 and 2, and you see it just doesn't carry the momentum around the corner on the bottom. Man, that thing's bouncing on entry right there.
Does get to the...
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, you can see it rotate through the middle there. Got a little bit back. Now it's getting away again.
7th for Dean, 31.30.
I think if I'm crew chief down there, I'm telling my guy the middle to the top at 3 and 4 is what you're going to have to try to figure out here.
Kyle Sieg is next up. 28 car, finished 11th here a year ago. They've been good on the 1.5 miles. So talking to Matt Noyce, who's the crew chief on Kyle's brother's car, Ryan Sieg, and they had this car up at their North Carolina shop this week to try to give Kyle as good of an opportunity as he could to have another strong run on the 1.5 miles. Finished in the top 10 in Vegas earlier this year, so knows how to get around these racetracks.
Once again, probably has a different exhaust setup because it sounds a little bit different than every other car you'll hear. They love to do that on this 28 car.
Kyle Sieg slots in to the 9th spot. About halfway through qualifying here at Charlotte. Some heavy hitters still to come. Back at Charlotte, and the second half of the field awaiting their turn to qualify. And this driver, Nick Sanchez, will be first up as it's the signal to fire up the 48 car, Big Machine Racing Chevrolet. Borchetta Bourbon colors on that car this weekend.
This is the best part of the weekend as a driver. I loved getting in there, going through the gears, trying to get up to speed. At this point, just wishful thinking that you're going to have the grip that you think it's going to have, and then making these decisions down the straightaway of, most likely going to run high through 3 and 4 here to have the momentum he needs.
Did you like going in with a plan or feel it out?
I always had a plan. It didn't work out very often, but I always had a plan.
Same here.
Oh,
Never
boy.
seems to work how I want it. That's a lot. You see those bumps down there, you hear them.
He did have his hands full in practice. We were on this same onboard shot, and it was a little bit of a struggle right here. Sideways again and again.
Yeah, and every time you see that car wiggle, you can just watch the tracker lose a half a tenth, and then you just have no momentum.
Here's the big
down the
decision.
straightaway.
To the bottom. We're going to try.
Oh, he did.
He got there.
He did get there. It sounds like
That was
the
good.
throttle down good. Really good 3 and 4 for him.
Car looks free enough. He was able to get it down there and kind of get it to stick. Lost a little bit off of 4, but still a good lap for Sanchez. 31.04.
31.04.
Fourth fastest for the 48.
That was really impressive considering how loose he was in 1 and 2 to commit to the bottom and get there.
It was ugly, is
Yeah,
what
it
you'd
was-
say, right? I mean, you're watching on. It's just an ugly lap.
He's done that to us a couple times.
Yeah, he has.
Matt DiBenedetto on the racetrack.
That's
you
a
gotta
rite of
say that
passage.
slow. You got to say it slow. Let's go down to Carla.
Yeah, Dillon, Jesse Love just described his practice as awful. So what was happening out there to what made you feel that way?
Yeah, man, we were just out to lunch a little bit, so we're changing everything but the driver, it seems like right now. Try to go put ourselves a decent lap qualifying here, but yeah, just too tight. Feel like we came here wanting to be free and tried some stuff to do that and kind of did the opposite. So we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board here a little bit for qualifying and then into the race, but I still feel like we can keep fighting, keep digging deep, and we'll figure out a way to get our car where we want to and be fast Xfinity Internet. But yeah, qualifying around here is very fun. It's very scary. It's very fast. And it's one of my favorite days of the year. So just grateful to race on Memorial Day.
Yeah, and a lot of changes for the 2, it seems, guys.
Thanks, Carla. Matty D.
Wow.
7 tenths over his practice lap to 4th.
Threw down a heater right there. He was close to going for the pole off of turn 4.
30.98 for Matt DiBenedetto. Great lap for the 99. Here's Brennan Poole. 250th NASCAR National Series start for him this weekend.
And I know a lot of people sometimes hate on talking about starts, but I find it impressive, especially for journeyman drivers out there who have jumped around. Just having starts, just staying in the game, showing up week after week is always an impressive thing. And 250 is nothing to balk at.
10th for Poole on his lap, 31.47. Here's William Sawalich. Finally had a decent day, I think, by their standards at Texas a couple weeks ago after what has been just a really, really tough start to his rookie campaign.
But he has the speed every
Definitely.
week. I mean, he's plenty fast enough. It's just about putting the whole race together and minimizing your mistakes. And look at this lap right here. Really good through 3 and 4.
Really good.
Oh, he got loose on him right there. But it looks like he stayed in it. He's going to have it. It's just enough momentum at the line.
To the top, William Sawalich, 30.82.
That is exactly what I want to do when I qualify.
Wasn't pretty, but it was fast.
That's what you want, that little bit of a slide on exit, knowing you got all of it. It's a great lap by William.
That was awesome.
Here's Parker Retzloff for Alpha Prime Racing.
You almost got to wonder, is the track just taking a turn all of a sudden? You've seen those last couple of cars, Matt DiBenedetto and William Sawalich picking up. Those were the 2 easiest names I could have chosen back to back.
Back to back.
Like, wow.
Like Sawalich to Zilich.
Wow.
Sawalich is another one that made a big gain over his practice time, to your point. Not quite as much as DiBenedetto did, but
a big improvement,
yes,
right?
big improvement.
Half a second for both, which is wild.
Retzloff has had his hands full here off of 4, and the time reflects it. He's down in 20th at a 31.85.
Usually one to watch in qualifying. Didn't
Almost
quite have the
always,
speed
yeah.
there. Yeah. We were going to term him Jetslaw for a while.
Yeah. Oh, hang on to it, Carson. Oof.
That's coming to the green.
Yeah. He just
That's not comforting coming to the green at all. Well, I got 30 seconds of hell left right here.
He's probably not the only one that's felt that way today from the looks of things.
They're all ugly.
They are.
I mean, everyone just.
It's still fast.
Which is fun to watch, though. Yeah, look at the speed he's carrying.
Right on the mark of what Sawalich set into 3.
Oh, no, look at he committed to it again, to the top.
High side. That's what I was thinking. Maybe he just was up there to get it wound up. Lost some speed, though.
He had to give
He's
up
going to have some
so
momentum,
much.
though. Is he going to have enough? Oh, he gave up just a little bit too much to the middle.
Right approach.
I liked it. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Approach. He had to give up so much on the entry, and some of that is you're just unsure how much you can throw in there. And I'm sure if he could do it over again, he thinks, you know what, I could have carried just a bit more throttle into the corner. That would have made the difference with the momentum he had.
It's stuck better than I thought.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
Quapple ends up in the 4th spot. Here's William Byron, 2017 Series champion, making his 2nd start this year in the Hendrick Motorsports number 17.
Yeah, that car looks tight enough to me. Looked like he went in there when it loaded up, was able to get to the throttle. Look at the speed. He's got 10th and a half in the bank going to 3 and 4.
Yeah, run anywhere you want.
And goes to the bottom.
Good lap for Byron.
Wow, and gained on exit. That's really solid for Byron.
That's a big lap.
Strong run, 30.65.
Anyone right now. Good job.
Most of that was in 1 and 2, though.
Yes.
Most of that lap time was all gained by that car being stable enough through 1 and 2 and tight enough that he could get to the throttle and carry all that speed down the backstretch.
2nd fastest lap of the day for Byron there.
Track's going the right way right now.
It is.
Starting to see everybody improve.
Here's Anthony Alfredo in the 42 car for Young's Motorsports.
That's considering what William Byron just set down. That's actually really good when you look at the track right now.
Yeah, Byron's,
Really good lap potential.
Byron's got a 10th and a half just about over Sawalich.
He did this. It was almost the same thing. Just gave up so much
back
time
a
on
little
it.
bit.
But I loved his commitment to trying to make the top work.
Yeah, still a good lap for Alfredo.
A great lap.
8th quickest, 30.98. And Sammy Smith will be the next car. There he is, out of 4, and he'll get the green flag here.
He was really loose.
Yeah, we heard that radio. Yep.
He was almost out of breath when we heard him talking about it in practice.
So if you're these later qualifiers, how much can you really adjust your approach based on what you've seen the last couple cars?
It's a good question. You know, I think you, especially if you're having some of these decisions, you're going up through the line and you're thinking, I don't know where I want to run down in 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. Seeing some cars tackle it differently and seeing the ones that you think maybe react the way your car will gives you that shot as he tries to run the top.
See a lot of guys trying to run the top, but they give up so much speed, like you said, on the entry to the middle. And a lot of that, it looks to me like on their outlap, it drives so bad through 3 and 4 that you can't commit to it then on the timed lap.
Those high-frequency bumps, all those sealer patches you see on the racetrack, they just upset the car so much. And once the front tires start bouncing, the rear tires, you just cannot commit to the throttle, and they don't get back in the racetrack. It makes it so tough.
He chose to run quite a little bit lower. You hear him having to work the throttle right there.
Get it back a little bit.
And that 1 and 2, you just have to commit on entry, land in the middle, and where you end up is where you end up. But you just have to carry so much speed around that corner.
Got over the bumps and looked like it was going to get tight, and then it kind of snapped around on him a little bit. Out of 4, and checkered for Daniel Dye. Down in 15th out of 31.38. So he'll have a little bit of work to do later this afternoon.
I think he'd want a chance to do that one over again.
Tough qualifying session here. Everybody chasing William Byron. 10 cars remaining here in qualifying. Back at Charlotte for Xfinity Series qualifying, everybody chasing that man right there, William Byron. Just awaiting these last 10 cars as he and crew chief Adam Wall dissect their run.
A lot of technical terms with hands being explained down there.
Race car driver
what
talk.
he had. What he had.
What do you tell your crew chief when you're 2/10 faster than the field? Yeah.
Well, you don't say, I wish I could do that one over again.
Yeah.
Say that.
Byron, one of 3 Cup drivers, full-time Cup drivers in the field today, as you saw there with Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, and Connor Zilic, full-time Xfinity guy, as we said, making his second Cup start, the Coke 600 tomorrow.
Jeb had high hopes, I felt like, in that interview with Carla earlier, and he chose to run tick lower through 3 and 4, come to the green. It looked a lot smoother than what we've seen some of those cars that get up by the wall, reference how rough that is. And just looking at that lap time, got a pretty good run to the green.
It was a little high on the entry there to one, but turned it down
Good exit,
nicely,
though.
sort of
Look at
diamond.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, was able to get to the throttle. Gets a lot back here. What's the choice?
Felt so good coming to the green, I'm sticking with it.
Do it twice.
I like it, yeah. Well, and I think that's a good decision. It felt good to him, you know, on that up to speed lap, but man, Byron was so good around the bottom.
Good lap.
3 and 4, yeah, good lap there.
7th for Jeb, 30.95. He's been in the top 10 here 3 times over the last 5 years, so a place he likes and runs well at. Ryan Sieg gets the green flag. Can never count him out on these mile-and-a-half racetracks. This one was a challenge for him last year, but spoke with Matt Noyce and said he felt like they had a little bit better grasp on what they needed this weekend.
I feel like everybody's got thrown for a loop today,
yes,
right?
I
Like
agree.
you had a plan coming in, and then you see how out of balance all these cars are. That's low enough.
That's a
By
good-
4,
that
that's
looks good.
definitely low. That's a good lap right there. Good corner.
Wrapped the bottom nicely there.
Yeah, look at the time he gained on the exit, even running the bottom. He was one of the few cars we've seen get low enough. And 3rd overall. That's
Really
a
good lap.
Really good lap.
And like you said, when you get to where it hooks around that blue line.
Yeah, it's not walking everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It basically turns the car for you. You can just commit to the throttle in a heavy way, and that gave him a great run.
Last year's 2nd place finisher in this race, Brandon Jones, on the clock.
That's the highest we've seen.
Yeah, that was commitment. But similar to Jeb, it almost looked like he was able to get turned down just a little bit later. And look at that. Got the momentum down the back stretch.
Sounded fast.
How does he manage 3 and 4?
Can he hook
Oh,
it?
he missed
no!
it. Gosh, and look at that when they slide up just 6 or 8 inches, how loose that car got.
He still didn't lose very much time. He's going to be
yeah.
second. Yeah, 30.75. So just that one little bobble cost him from going to the top by maybe 10th or so.
He
definitely wishes he could have this over again.
Yes, but he committed in turn 1, and he committed down 3 and 4 to trying to get back to the throttle. He tried to do exactly what we talked about with Sieg, which is he got his left front to the blue line. He thought this will tow me around
I got
the
it.
corner.
Yeah.
Got to the throttle, and the car said no, no, no.
Nope. Not today.
Here's Harrison Burton. We've talked about the success of the AM Racing team so far this year.
That car looked nervous.
It did.
Yeah.
Didn't look quite as good as the 20. They'll try the bottom here through 3 and 4, and it's still a little bit out of shape. Not going to be the lap Harrison wants.
That car looks out of the racetrack. It's bouncing around a ton, and that's representative in the time there. They got some work to do, most likely, on that 25. It could be also that's one of those cars that doesn't quite have the one-lap speed, but might show up in the long run.
They do always seem to race a little bit better than they qualify. Harrison ends up 19th. Taylor Gray next up, coming off that career best finish of 2nd at Texas a couple weeks ago.
It's a very similar line to what we saw Brandon Jones run, like drive in, kind of washed up the track, but again, has great speed down the back. See if he can get to the line and stay on it. He does. A little bit better. A little bit better. Coming back.
Same sort of bobble.
There you go. Wow.
Gray got out of 4 better, though, and he goes fastest now, 30.59.
He earned it.
3 of the top 4 right now.
Yeah, that was a lot of work on the exit of 4 for him. Good lap.
That was very impressive. Really, really impressive lap. Oh no.
Did not like my car in practice.
Nope.
And I'm loose coming to the green.
A wiggle like that off 4. Good luck in 1, Jesse.
See how he adjusts back into 1 here. You can still see
thing.
it sideways. And he's right. He was not thrilled with that race car. Time still isn't terrible.
Not terrible.
Down the backstretch.
For the way it looks.
Yep. This has been the big test through 3 and 4. He's way out of the throttle.
Look at the wheel moving everywhere. It's walking up the racetrack, sideways on the exit.
Yep, some work to do on the 2. 15th for Jesse Love, 31-11. They'll have to get that a little bit snugger for him come race time. Rolling right along, final handful of cars here. Sam Mayer next up.
This is one to watch. Back in 2022, he set one of the craziest qualifying laps I've ever seen. I think anyone has seen the Xfinity Series. It's still talked about in the garage what he did down in 3 and 4 here to get the pole. Decent 1 and 2. Let's see what he decides to do in 3 and 4. He used all the lanes back in 22 when he won that pole.
He was right on the wall coming out of 2 there on that lap. Goes to the bottom here.
That's as low as you can go.
Stay down there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Don't know if he got into it in the infield, too, doing some landscaping. Still 8th for Mayer. That was an exciting lap. 30-91.
I don't even know how he got down there.
I don't know. I think he was pointed down the hill.
It was so sideways off of 4, he just let it walk out and it got to the grass.
This is coming to the checkered here. So, yeah, I got sideways. Oh,
just
boy,
kissed it.
Out it a little bit.
That's it. That's perfect. He's just making the track shorter.
Yeah, just trying to kind of cut the dog leg a little bit. Here's Chase Briscoe, the final Joe Gibbs Racing car. As we said, 3 of the top 4 right now, with Byron in the middle there.
Let's see that tracker. Come on, let's see where we're at.
Oh,
look at that lap.
Said he needed to learn.
Well, it took him 20 minutes to figure it out.
First,
I missed the bottom, though.
This is his first start in a Joe Gibbs Xfinity car, so he does have some things to learn about them. Lost it a little bit off of 4 there, and he'll slot in 7th right now.
I think that was it. Felt so good in 1 and 2 that I'm overcommitted to turn 3 right now. Yeah, good lap, though, overall for Chase.
30-88 for Briscoe. And here's Austin Hill.
If you're Austin Hill's team, what did you do to this race car? When you look at, you have Sanchez, Jesse Love, and Austin Dillon, basically the other cars you're associated with, having not shown a lot of speed.
Austin was 10th in practice.
To the bottom.
Wow.
All right. It's working.
Yeah, it is. Look at that.
Wow.
Really good 1 and 2.
We assume he'll run the bottom of 3 and 4.
He did it 1 and 2. Can it stick?
Stay there for a while. He's losing a little momentum.
Oh.
I think you're going to be okay, Taylor.
Got to get through the center of 3 and 4. That has been the ultimate challenge today. 2nd for Austin Hill, 30-64.
It's so interesting that he had the speed through 1 and 2 on the bottom, but then lost it in 3 and 4, which you think would have been the easier end for him.
Final qualifier, and 1 more to survive for Taylor Gray. Here's Connor Zilic back in the comfort of the Junior Motorsports 88 car.
Looks stable.
Yeah, going to get a good exit. Got to the throttle, able to carry a lot of momentum down the backstretch. See if he can put it together, though. We know this is the end that all the money is made. Oh, he gets to the line.
Does he stay
Perfect.
there?
Look at that.
Oh, it's sideways.
Gone out.
Sticking with it. Oh, no.
Oh, he lost that
it
right.
before again.
Great lap.
2nd for Connor Zilic.
Are we going to get a smile out of Taylor Gray, you think?
Pole for Taylor Gray, the 200th Xfinity Series pole for Joe Gibbs Racing, and Carla's there with him.
Make him smile, Carla.
They said I have to make you smile, but I mean, top of the board to start this race, going to be on the front row winning the pole. That's got to make you feel pretty good about this one.
Yeah, definitely. Starting front row is always, it makes your day easier for sure. So I can't thank everybody from Joe Gibbs Racing. Brought me a really fast Operation 300 GR Supra. Was a little, maybe a tad concerned in practice, but I feel like we turned it around there, at least for 1 solid lap. So can't thank everybody enough. Feel like we're as fast as Xfinity Mobile, so go see you here in a few hours.
Seems like JGR's kind of figured out something in qualifying today on this track. What do you think that is?
I don't know. Jason just makes my stuff drive good. My job's easy.
Hey, can you smile for me?
I don't like to smile.
It's a smirk, not a smile.
He is always serious for sure, and still has job's not done. He's got to go out here and finish this one off here with the speed that they've got in that 54 car. He's right. That guy, Jason Ratcliffe, certainly knows how to put the tune on these race cars. Gray on the pole, his second career pole. And Connor Zilich ends up in the second spot. Austin Hill third, William Byron and Brandon Jones rounding out the top 5. So Gray's got some momentum here. Finished second at Texas last time out. He's got the pole here today. What does he need to do to finish it off?
Well, I think I go back to Martinsville and having that race control. He had that in the bag. Obviously, what went down in 3 and 4 in the final lap was unfortunate, but he'd already had that win. I was even surprised to see that Texas was his best finish. I just thought, well, that's probably happened before. But I think that positive momentum, running well at a 1.5 miles, getting the pole like this, although he doesn't smile, I think that definitely drives some confidence in you as a young driver coming in this series, and to know you've got 1 lap speed. Now can you put together over long runs in this 300-mile race?
He smiled right there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, he's happy.
Yeah.
He's not on camera.
Connor Zilich qualified second in his return to the 88 car, and he's downstairs with Carla.
Yeah, going to be on the front row next to Taylor Gray. You've never run the oval here at Charlotte, but a pretty successful run for you.
Yeah, no, it was a good start. We're about to get cranked up on here, but yeah, really fast Jared Chevrolet, as fast as Xfinity Mobile, and we've got a really good car for the race as well. We're good in practice, so yeah, just barely missed it there. Got a little loose in 3 and 4, and hurt my lap a little bit, but I know we got a good car for the race, and really excited to get back in the Cup car here in a little bit.
What'd you feel in 3 and 4 when you did get?
Yeah, I entered a little shallow, got in the bumps, and then when I got to the line, it just kind of got away from me, and I left the line a little earlier than I wanted to. So, yeah, it's just kind of not knowing where to be, and yeah, learn for next time.
Yeah, pretty good return for Connor Zilich, guys.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Junior Motorsports cars always good. These are the Joe Gibbs Racing cars here at Charlotte. Gray and Zilich on the front row. Qualifying all wrapped up here at Charlotte for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Here's how we'll line them up. Taylor Gray and Connor Zilich on the front row.
Yeah, and right behind Zilich, you see William Byron, limited in the Xfinity Series, but looked like he had a great car in practice. I think maybe the car to beat, though, is on the bottom right, 5th row outside. Justin Allgaier won here a couple years ago and had the best car last year.
He did. Behind him there in row 6, Sam Merrill will be one to watch. Brand new race car for them. Quapple, first time here. And then we have some of the RCR cars of Love and Sanchez and Austin Dillon, who all looked a little bit out of the racetrack. So we'll see what they have in racetrack.
Next group of cars, 20th on back, Blaine Perkins and Jeremy Clements there in row number 11.
Yeah, we talked about Josh Williams. You see him down inside of row number 14. Ryan Ellis, talked about his lap qualifying. These guys are all going to have a little bit of work to do today.
Catherine Legg made the race. She picked up some really hard tracks to go to in this tour of tough tracks in NASCAR. And also Brad Perez in there making his start in the 45. Good to see him in the field.
Dawson Cram, unfortunately, not going to make it, nor is Carson Ware, who didn't make a run due to some engine issues. Back to wrap things up from Charlotte in just a moment.
It's time for Xfinity action. Jesse Love's in charge of the field as we go to overtime. Big crash. Jesse Love is going to win the season opener at Daytona. Next flag in place.
Cars are wrecking. They're not going to throw the caution, and Hill is going to lead them to the stripe.
Connor Zilic is a road warrior.
Congrats, buddy.
Second career victory comes at Circuit of the Americas. Justin Allgaier, he's going to win at the Homestead Miami Speedway and get the $100,000. How about that?
What an awesome race, boys.
A crash coming to the start-finish line, and it's Austin Hill that will win it at Martinsville.
Oh, no, we'll lose our car here.
No. Car's on the loose.
Oh!
There goes the 88 of Connor Zilic, who was leading when the caution came out.
21 to the start-finish line.
Austin Hill has won for the first time in his career at Talladega.
We did it, baby. Let's go!
Halfway through the regular season, at the conclusion of this weekend for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, time to start talking points. It's on the minds of everybody all throughout the year, but getting down to crunch time for sure. Top 12 advance to the playoffs, and some names that maybe we didn't expect to be below the cut line with a little bit of work to do, including today's pole sitter. Carla is downstairs with our third place qualifier.
That's right. Austin Hill going to be on the second row for this one. You said you kind of felt like you had a pole lap going and it just got away from you.
Yeah, my 1 and 2 was really good with our Global Industrial Chevrolet, and I thought that getting into 3, I got into 3 good, big arc, and then right when I was getting to the line, I just carried too much roll speed, missed the marks just a little bit. It doesn't take much here at Charlotte to just miss your marks by 6 inches, and it kind of hurts the rest of your corner. And as soon as that happened, I'm yelling at myself inside the race car. But, all in all, got to tip my cap to everyone in this 21 team, everybody at RCR, ECR. We brought a really fast Global Industrial Chevrolet today, as fast as Xfinity Mobile. And
I'm excited to get going today. Our practice was good. I wouldn't say it was great. There was a few guys that we got to get better to compete with. I got to figure out how to run the top. I'm pretty good at running the bottom for the most part, and our lap times were good on the bottom, but when I tried to move around and run the top, I lost a lot of time there. So, yeah, just got to figure that out when we get into the race. And awesome to have K9s for Warriors on board this weekend on our quarter panel. Such a cool deal that we're supporting with Global Industrial and K9s for Warriors. So excited to get going this afternoon.
Yeah, he also told me he's excited about the weather because it's not as hot as it usually is this weekend.
That's right. I'm not going to lie. I was very concerned about being on pit road later today and it being like 100 degrees like it normally is here this time of year. Beautiful weekend on tap here in the Charlotte area.
And this race is usually earlier in the day, and it's usually like the hottest, the first really hot race of the year. Every year. And you always think about like, ooh, that Charlotte day race.
Hang on.
Oh, boy.
Guy lost his shoes.
Oh, no, watch your head there. All right.
A lot of things almost went wrong in that short time right there.
It's a series of events.
I like that
hat.
Well, I would agree with Austin Hill. He's really good around the bottom, but I think in order to win this race today, you're going to have to be able to roll the top on the long runs. If we get into that, the top just seems to be able to carry the speed longer into a run than the bottom does.
We talk so much about Austin and even Allgaier. He's so good here. How much does just veteran experience and understanding this place and how it changes pay off today?
It's massive, and you have to remember this is probably one of the longer Xfinity races of the year, just with the tire fall off and the miles here. And usually when it's a lot hotter, the fall off is even higher. But I think it's just one of those races where even if it's not good in stage 1, stage 2, you've got time to make up for it. Oh, Jamie, here you are. Still your longboard.
Great day ahead here in Charlotte. NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing kicks off with coverage at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time with pre-race. Racing coverage starts at about 4:30. Hope to see you later this afternoon. For Parker Kligerman, for Jamie McMurray and Carla Metz downstairs, I'm Dylan Welch. We'll see you later this afternoon on the CW.